Looch on ice, we break it down each week. Puck drops hard, hear the fans all scream. From the highlight reels, we catch every peak. In the fast lane, we live the hockey dream. Stick handling magic, every move's a skill. Looch on ice, we got the weekly scoop. From power plays to the hardest hits in the loop. Join the ride, feel that action, no excuse. NHL roundup with a hockey news crew. Goals and assists, the numbers never lie. From golden gloves to the rivalries that fly. On ice battles, real grit and we pride. With Looch on the mic, we rise to the sky. Every play's electric, they give us a thrill. Looch on ice, we got the weekly scoop. From power plays to the hardest hits in the loop. Trying to ride, feel that action, no excuse. NHL roundup with a hockey news crew. The numbers never lie. From golden gloves to the rivalries that fly. On ice battles, real grit and we pride. With Looch on the mic, we rise to the sky. Every play's electric, they give us a thrill. Looch on ice, we got the weekly scoop. From power plays to the hardest hits in the loop. Join the ride, feel that action, no excuse. NHL roundup with a hockey news crew. So lace up tight, let's roll with the fight. Looch on ice, hockey vibes feeling right.
We are back. What's happening, Jeff?
Not much.
We are live again on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock.
Just playoff hockey. Knicks in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
NHL draft coming up.
Yep.
A lot of good stuff happening.
Yes.
Yep. Summer's coming.
Stanley Cup Finals, man. Yeah, finally getting some warm weather here in Jersey.
You know? It's been up and down. It's hard to believe it's June sometimes when you go out there in the morning and it's cold.
Yeah.
It is.
That's for sure. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. Stanley Cup. We're finally here at the Stanley Cup.
Nothing says June like the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, man. We got the Vegas Golden Knights and the Hurricanes. Who would have thought Vegas Golden Knights pulling it off?
Certainly wouldn't have predicted that with Vegas with 15 games left. Then they fired Cassidy and hired Tortorella, and here we are. But you know, so when they both made the finals, you know how I feel about Carolina. Whatever.
Right.
I thought them making the finals was more of a product of the competition they faced, not that they were any kind of juggernaut. I was talking to my son Jackson. We had lunch at lunch the other day, and I was surprised when he was picking Carolina, and he was firm. Like we would going back and forth on it, and I was surprised. He's usually smarter than that. Then I saw the odds, like the Vegas odds. The odds makers had Carolina as a favorite, and then I started reading the pundits. It shouldn't have surprised me because Carolina could do no wrong with those guys, and they're darling. And a lot of these people were picking Carolina, and I said to myself, "Am I missing something here?
Yeah.
Am I letting my bias about Carolina in the way they played in the past to their coach, influence too much? Is something changed?" And then I was talking to Jackson yesterday. He's like, Dad, I don't like to change my pick, but I'm kind of thinking Vegas now. And I said, well, you should change your pick. It's right. I don't think it. Not only do I think they're going to win, I don't think it's going to be as close to series as everybody thinks. And so we'll go through a few things, but so Jackson and I started talking, and I was looking at the roster. We talked about who was still there from the first cup and the finals, and talking about who was there. And I go, oh, I forgot all about Hurdle.
Yeah,
Thomas Hurdle's like that fourth line. They're loaded. They're deep. And last night's a perfect example. They got no goals from Marner, Eichel, Stone, or the Russian kid. and they still scored 5 goals and beat them, right?
Yeah.
And Shea Theodore showing everybody what a great player he
Ooh,
is. That game, I think he's look, Carolina is good and they're not a bad team. I don't necessarily. I think Vegas is going to sweep them on winning 5. I wouldn't be surprised. I think they're that good. And the other
really?
thing that besides the usual BS about Carolina and how is I've been hearing the last couple of days. Well, Frederick Anderson's playing the best hockey of his career. He could be the Conn Smythe. He's playing great. And I said, okay, here we go again with Frederick Anderson, right? How many times we've heard this? What is it, Toronto, Carolina? Last night, right? That was Frederick Anderson last night, right there. And why he's never won a cup, and until he shows otherwise, I don't think he will. The goal he gave up to Barbashev was ridiculous, right? He was squared up to him. He had full view of it, no screen, and he gets beat short side.
Right.
That's insane. And he should have had the save on Hurdle on the game winner. And, people say, well, it was a good shot and all that. But here's the thing. You want to be a Stanley Cup winning goalie, you got to make that save, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me you're a Stanley Cup winning goalie and say, it was a good shot. Come on.
Right. Right.
He let him down. And the other thing is there's an old expression in hockey. The puck will find the guy you least want to have the puck. It will find him on the ice in the worst possible moment, right? And Shane Gottisbehere, the ghost, who I've always been a fan of his play.
Oh yeah.
Never be mistaken for his great defensive player. Who got beat for the game winner? Shane Gottisbehere, right?
Right.
And not sure what he was. I'm surprised he was out there with the way Brendanmore coaches him. But they're too deep. I don't think. Like I said, I was surprised when people were talking about this being, like Carolina was going to beat them. I'm not saying they couldn't, but if they beat him, it was going to be an upset. This team is good. They're loaded.
Right. I know.
And they played that way. And, well, Carolina went on this march to the finals. That's what Jackson said to me at first. Like, they just swept the Avs.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we thought it was a machine.
I know.
Had the best record through 40 games in history of hockey. They, swept them. I know
Yeah.
McCarr was hurt, but come on.
Yeah. McKinnon too. I guess McKinnon was hurt, and Nemestikov. No, what's his name? Nichushkin. McCarr, Nichushkin, and McKinnon were all hurt. I mean, I was just got distracted for a second. I got my dog. I'm outside with my dog, and I see her jump off the deck. She runs down.
Right.
She runs down the fence. She's chasing a chipmunk. She gets the chipmunk, flips it up in the air. It lands and it flies through and goes underneath the fence right near my. Good thing. I think I'm pretty sure it got away. What's that?
Away?
It got
Maybe
away.
We should film her. Your dog's more entertaining than the podcast.
I was looking over. I go, where the hell is she running to? I see a chipmunk go flying in the air. As you were talking, I was distracted. Oh,
no problem.
Man. But anyway, we get back to the Vegas. I mean, geez, I didn't think they were going to beat Colorado, but with Nichushkin and McKinnon, I mean, McKinnon, one of the best players in the NHL, geez, and McCarr too. I mean, but still, I mean, Vegas is just they showed it last night with that game. What a game they had! They were down 2-0, come back and score 3 unanswered goals. And then it was back and forth with the goals. And finally they
were down 2-0.
Yeah, they scored that last one. Was it a Hurdle that scored the game-winning goal?
Brett Howden got another one.
Brett Howden, yeah, with what was that? His 11th goal of the game of the playoffs. I know we mentioned him earlier, and that's one of our guys that we talk about. But yeah, that's going to be a great series. I have a feeling it's going to go 7. Last night was a close game. We'll see tomorrow. They're in Carolina again, and then they'll go to Vegas too.
I originally said Vegas is 6. I'm going to stick with that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ended in 5.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of shots that.
Did you notice when Vegas scored last night, you could hear a pin drop in that arena.
Yeah,
Did you notice
right.
that? I've never seen an arena get that quiet. It was like,
Uh-huh.
it's
I,
weird.
I missed the first period. I got to catch the second and the third. I was working last night, and I kept checking my phone to see the score. I says, "Whoa, man, 2-0 already for Carolina." But that's one of the worst leads to have is a 2-0 lead. They say, you know, because you
Yeah.
start to sit back. Some teams start to sit back. I mean, I don't think Vegas sat back. I mean, it's evident that they didn't sit back. They're just a great team, and I think Torts is a good coach there. I think he gets on his players a little bit, but then he pumps them up too. He'll get
You see,
on there.
yeah, yeah.
He
That's the
gets
thing with
on them, but
Torts. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, yeah. And to talk about Torts, he's
And that's the thing about Torts. He surprises you, right?
right.
He's not the tyrant everybody thinks he is. He can be hard. He's demanding, but like he's a smart coach. The smart coaches, the good ones, they adapt, they adjust. You hear that, Rob Brindamore? And he, he came in and he felt like this. According to what he said, this team needed a confidence boost. Right? They forgot how good they were, and he kind of like eased into it, try to really take a positive approach, remind them how good they were, and here we are. I'm a Torts guy. I'm a Torts fan. I know he's not for everybody. I've always liked him, and I'll be very happy for him if he wins the Stanley Cup. I'm rooting for him.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
For the Carolina Hurricane, um, who was it that scored those 2 goals? Oh, Nikolai Eller had 2 goals. I think he only
yeah.
had two shots, 2 goals and 2 shots.
First game ever in the Stanley Cup Finals. He scores 2 goals like in the first couple of minutes.
Yeah, it was the first. What was it? The first 5 minutes that goal was his first goal was scored.
Yeah,
Was
I think it was like 3 minutes in, and then he scored again. He scored on a 2-on-1 where he didn't pass it, he shot it, nice wrist
right.
shot, and then he cherry picked and he got a pass and scored on a breakaway on a nice nifty backhand. So,
Uh,
and
Jordan
then
Jordan
you know,
Stahl.
yep, Stahl, and then who got the last one?
That was Shane Gossesbear for Carolina.
Yep, Shane giveth and Shane taketh away, and
Yeah.
Vegas. So they got a goal from what was it? That theater was it Theater on the first one? Yeah, right.
Theodore got the first one.
And then
Barbashev.
it was an awful goal by Anderson and allowed. Howden got the third, right?
Carlson got the.
Carlson
Looks
got the
like
third.
Carlson got the third, and Howden got
On
the
a nice pass
fourth.
from Shea Theodore.
Shea Theodore and Braden McNabb with the assists.
McNabb had 3 assists last night.
Yeah,
Not a guy
yeah,
known for his offense.
right, right.
Yeah, look, what's crazy about that game is they're both excellent defensive teams, right? And Carolina is very disciplined. They're very good defensively, and somehow they allowed Brett Howden all alone in front. And Hurdle got to the net on his game winner. Barbashev all alone in the slot. That's not Carolina.
Hmm.
This game will be a low scoring. This series will be low scoring the rest of the way.
Yeah, not a whole lot of shots on goal. I mean, Carolina with 29 shots and Vegas had 23. So I mean, it's I don't know. I think it's kind of low.
So think about there you go. There you go. So Frederick Anderson, future Conn Smythe winner, 5 goals on 23 shots. Come on.
Yeah. What was it total on the Carter Hart? Yeah, Carter Hart's been playing great too. Geez, who would have thought with all his that issue that he had back with the Flyers, he'd come over to Vegas and then beat our starting goalie and have and be in the
Yeah.
Stanley Cup.
You talk about a guy who's, looking into the abyss not too long ago, career over,
Right.
have to go over to Europe, and look at him now. A couple of
Right.
things about that. I'm not saying he wouldn't have been signed or played in any other city, because I think he would have. But there's no other city that would make a non-issue of him and what happened
Yeah.
in the past. It's Sin City, right?
Right.
Vegas, they don't care. Anything goes in Vegas, right? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Right.
So he didn't face that backlash. But as I said to Jackson the other day, I said, listen, don't ever forget, no matter what you do, short of, some things like, but pretty much if you have talent and you're good, you're going to get a chance again,
Mm-hmm.
unless you do something so heinous. Listen, I don't like what happened there. And,
Yeah.
I don't think they raped her. I followed that trial a little bit. We won't talk much about it because I don't think it was rape. Whatever happened, happened.
Right.
But it was a disgrace what those guys did. And I said to my son, like, if anything like that ever happens, try to be the one that stands up for her or get out of it. If not, get out of there. Do not be in that situation. And God, don't ever participate in something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Right.
and I'm no prude. Believe
Right.
me.
Right.
But I didn't think they raped her. But what they did was enough for me.
Yeah.
I'd be livid if my son did something like that.
Yeah. Or if you were the father of the girl, geez, that's
That's different.
That's
Well, if I
another
was the
side of
father
the
of the girl,
story.
Carter Hart wouldn't be in net right now. I'll tell you that.
He'd be taking different shots.
Yeah,
He'd be having different shots at him.
yeah.
No, I get it.
So yeah, I mean, if you're good, you'll get an opportunity again, right?
Right.
The other guys who aren't getting their opportunities because they're not good.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I thought Carter Hart was a good goalie when he was with the Flyers. I said, then this kid's going to be good. I saw a little bit of him playing with Philly. I said, oh man, they got a good goalie. And then all of a sudden everything went down. And then he was gone for a while and then came back and ended up at Vegas. That was good for him if he was, for the most part innocent, to an extent. I mean, I don't know about innocent, but not guilty.
Well, they didn't commit a crime,
right, right,
per se that we know of. Well, listen, they got acquitted. Like I said, I don't.
Yeah.
Look, I wasn't there, but in my opinion, it didn't sound like they raped her. But what they did was, bad enough for me. That doesn't mean I think the guy should never play in the NHL again. Or should, have his life, over.
Ruined him forever. Yeah.
And not that this makes it right when money would never, excuse rape or what she went through, but she got a big financial settlement. He should be allowed to continue his career, right? I just don't think it would have been so easy if it was in another city. But
no,
that's another unique thing about Vegas.
Right. Well, maybe it would have worked out in Philly. Who knows? Because it's a little rough over there too.
True.
The
ladies like to punch each other. Well, listen, it's the fans. Most of the fans don't care. We know that, right? How many we've seen that over him? It's the women's groups. It's the city, the politicians that they have backlash from some fans, but that's mostly what it is. Whether it's Philly, Dallas, Montana, the fans don't care.
No,
they really, they don't care. And by the way, speaking of Vegas, we can go on to the next thing. Is that they'll never be anything like Vegas again, because there was never anything like this before. And I mean, they're in their third finals. They've been in existence for 9 years. An expansion team went to the finals the first year. They won the cup a couple years later. They're in the finals again. They may win another cup. I mean, that's just remarkable.
It is. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. I kind of like it. I mean, I think it's good. It helps the sport. I look forward to Utah, when Utah gets there, being an expansion team. I mean, they're Arizona Coyotes, but for the most part, and I like the owner over there too at Utah. So
yeah,
I'm hoping that they come along and end up having a decent team eventually.
I'm always an admirer of success. I never bought into the bullshit that they cheat because they put guys on LTI or whatever. If there's a clause or a loophole and they can use their advantage, good on them, right? That doesn't bother me. Anybody else can do it. And it doesn't diminish to me what they did. It's still remarkable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't agree with the Marner signing. I thought they were nuts. I thought, okay, I actually said on my forum, and this is not going to age well. It's not aging well. That they're getting further and further away from what made them a successful team, right? Chemistry, gritty guys who knew their role, and they go out and get every star now when he's available. Hannafin, Rasmus Anderson, Marner, and giving Marner that kind of money and putting another bullseye on it after what happened in Toronto, I thought was a big mistake. And they to me they started looking like the Rangers of the '90s, and there we go. Like I said, that didn't age well.
Yeah.
They're a remarkable franchise. Right? They fire their coach with 8 games left in the season. Right? Who does that? Well, Lou Lamoriello.
I know.
And then
That's nuts.
They hire Torts. Talk about an unexpected hiring. Torts, what? Vegas?
Yeah, I thought that was gonna backfire on him. I says, oh man, he's coming in there and he's gonna shake things up, but he shook it up in the right way, I guess. So
yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
So
Vegas.
You got to admire them for their success.
Yep.
Like I don't. I'm not a critic of theirs. Of that, same thing with Tampa Bay and the state income tax thing. But by the way, that's why I hate the salary cap. Right?
Yeah.
I've always hated the salary cap. Look, I'm a capitalist at heart. I believe in the free markets, whatever. Having a salary cap. The owners, if those guys, most of them are Republicans and scream bloody murder about socialism, and then but then they want it for themselves. So, and this is why I hate it, because those states have an advantage now because there's no income tax, state income tax.
Right.
Guys can take less money. So, but I hate the salary cap. If that meant we have less teams, then we should have less teams. But that's why I'm not the commissioner of the NHL. They would never hire me because I'd said they need to make less money. By the way, real quick, I've been meaning to say, I was going to text you this the other day, but I figured I'd save it for the show. Guess who is talking about trading for Brady Tkachuk when he's available? Guess who?
Oh God. I did see something, I think, about that.
What have I been joking about?
Who was it? Not
Florida.
Oh, Florida, Pan. Oh, geez.
Remember what I said?
Yeah.
He'll end up in Florida with his brother.
Yeah. Imagine that. Oh, man.
He's not on the trade block yet. He hasn't asked for a trade, but we all know it's coming. Come on.
Right.
He's not going to re-sign an article.
Right.
And what better story than to go play with his brother down in Florida, take less money, and win another cup?
Sure. Oh,
I was joking when I said it, but
Yeah. I did see that.
The cap is going up dramatically, so they'll have room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they're going to re-sign Bob, but if you want me to, if we're putting money on it today, right now, put my money down. Brady Tkachuk is going to end up in Florida.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's my prediction.
Well,
with the rest of these superstars, the all-star team down there. And they have an advantage because guys are taking less money because of the state income tax, right? But that's credit to them. It's a place where guys want to go and are willing to take less money to play there. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not all just this, whatever. But I don't think we've heard the last of Florida in the Stanley Cup Finals or winning Stanley Cup, especially if Brody goes there. Brady.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction. My other prediction is Vincent Trocheck ends up with the Montreal Canadiens, but we get into that later if you want.
Yeah, I saw something about, I don't know if it was just people throwing it out there, but Connor McDavid going to Montreal Canadiens too. I saw.
You know what? I did say that to Jackson the other day. I said, you know what? You know where he's going to probably end up, Jackson? Montreal.
Wow.
It makes total sense.
Play with Caulfield.
They're a young team on the come, right? Deep. They have the goaltending. It's a historic franchise with tradition. He'd be part of tradition. They're ready to win a cup. You put McDavid in there, and they're immediately one of the favorites. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, they had a good run this year with a McDavid in there. Jeez.
It's the perfect place. What's more perfect than that? He's not going to go to Toronto, even though he's a hometown boy, because nobody's going to go there. You have to,
Yeah.
the thing with Marner again. L.A. maybe, yeah, but L.A. is a long way from winning a cup, right? Maybe
Yeah.
Detroit. Eh, he's not going to Florida, or
No.
maybe he is. I don't know.
Yeah. With
He's not going to
Kachuk.
go to Carolina. Montreal makes total sense. Plus, staying in country and leaving Edmonton. Whoop, lost you. Lost.
Yeah.
Oh, there.
There we
Plus,
go.
if he goes to Montreal, he stays in country, right?
Right.
If he went to the United States team, it's going to be double insulting, and this will soften the blow a little bit. And all of Canada wouldn't be mad at him. Just the Edmonton people, whatever, and the Montreal haters. But yeah, if I was again, I'll go on record right now and say I'm going to predict Connor McDavid is my money's on going to Montreal.
Montreal. Okay. And then Kachuk going to Florida.
Right.
Now, who the hell
And
are the Rangers going to get then? Robertson?
well, I
Jason
know
Robertson?
I was going to say no. He's signing. He's working on an extension with Dallas. What I was going to say is, you could bet your life savings that Connor McDavid is not coming to the Rangers, and I said why a
No.
million times. However, with the Knicks maybe winning an NBA championship,
Yeah.
right? Maybe Dolan is not so toxic. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. That game's going on tonight. The Knicks.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a score of
I
that
think-
game.
I think the Knicks seem to be that team of destiny.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
like to see them win. That would
Oh
definitely
God,
be cool. That would
I have a
definitely
couple of
be
Knicks
cool.
fans who suffered for years.
Yeah, I
I'd like
agree.
to see them win too.
My stepfather's probably down in Aruba watching a game tonight.
This
Yeah.
city, the New York City, is gonna it's gonna be like when the Rangers won, like you see it now when they won in the playoffs, like how nuts people are going and celebrating. It's gonna be like the Rangers won. It's gonna be a big party that especially if they win it, at the Garden.
Right. Yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, like you said, at least there's a little light of hope for the Rangers that with Dolan, if he wins it with the Knicks, maybe the Rangers have a little light of hope for
Yeah,
for,
maybe
for a winning
it'll
team.
calm him down because he finally won something and he's not so desperate to win one to prove himself.
Right.
Or
Right.
or it might embolden him to think he's smarter than he is, and then God help us.
Yeah. Right. Oh man. All right. So we'll move on from the Stanley Cup Finals. We got a game tomorrow night. Game 2 in Carolina. We'll see how that one plays out. It'll probably be another close game. I should be able to watch most of that game and we'll see how we make out. If Vegas wins that one, I don't know. It's going to be a tough climb at that point. I think for Carolina to come back, going to Vegas for 2, and then
They're good at home too, Vegas. That crowd is nuts. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, everybody's going to be at that game too. All the Vegas people, all the stars will come out of the woodwork.
Yep.
End up there. I saw a lot of people going down to the Carolina to watch the game.
Oh yeah.
Showing some video of different stars and stuff showing up down there.
By the way, you know what a lot of people aren't doing? Coming up to New York to go to the Knicks finals. You see the prices on the tickets
oh
that the
my
Knicks
God.
released?
That's crazy.
Starting up top, like $3,700. They go up as high as $400 or $380,000 for a seat down below or near the floor.
That's crazy.
It went for $500,000 on StubHub.
Wow.
They're talking if it goes, for the game 6, if the chance, especially if they have a chance to clinch, like $1 million a piece for the tickets.
That's all corporate stuff. It's got to be. I mean, geez,
Yeah, or Wall Street guys,
Right.
celebrities,
Right.
Tons of money. Some
Yeah, you get
.com guy,
Spike
or AI guy,
Spike Lee
right? Spike Lee.
will
But
be there.
it's not going to be people from Carolina. I can tell you, regular mom and pop. But you know what? To the Knicks' credit, they set aside, made available 20 tickets, free tickets for disadvantaged kids.
Oh.
So
Now, you said Carolina?
no, the Knicks did.
The Knicks. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
So
Yeah.
Carolina. I don't know what they're doing, but
Yeah,
tickets aren't going for $1 million down there.
No, they're not cheap though either. Stanley Cup playoffs
No.
down in Carolina. I'd love to go down there. My brother's right there. He's only a half hour away in Wake Forest. I've done that arena a few times in the
They're good
past.
fans down there.
Yeah.
They show up. They're passionate.
Oh yeah,
They stood behind that team for a long time. They're engaged. So it's a good fan base.
yeah. Well, they definitely got passionate. I could tell you that from the first time I went down there to the last time I went down there. I the last time I says, "Oh, do I want to wear my Ranger stuff?" Because they were, they were getting a little rough. I know my brother went with his grandkids, and they were still giving him a hard time because they were wearing their Ranger gear down there in Raleigh.
We've eliminated them in the playoffs twice in the last, up until a couple of years. They twice in 3 years. No wonder they don't want to see Ranger fans.
No,
Nothing makes you hate more than losing to a team, right?
A lot of transplants going down there too.
Probably Islander fans
from New York and Jersey heading down to Carolinas. See that a lot.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, so we'll move over to the we had the I didn't even realize it until I was texting with hopefully our next guest on the show. We're going to try to get him next week. We're going to keep his name a secret, and we're going to put out a picture if he locks in on a date. But he's up at the NHL Combine. I wasn't even aware that the Combine was going on. I was texting back and forth with our future guest who was up there. He says he doesn't have any time. He's gonna, when he comes back, he'll hook up with us, and we'll try to get him on. Hopefully next week.
Could be a fun guest, folks. You want to listen to that one?
That's going to be
a fun conversation. Yeah,
that's going to be a good one. He is on the list to be drafted this year.
Second or third round.
Second.
I wrote on my forum. I wrote a piece about him, about all the local kids. But
right.
I personally think he's being underrated.
Yeah.
We won't say anymore because we're going to give it away.
Right. Yeah. No, good kid. Hopefully he gets on and we can talk to him a little bit, and then he gets drafted and we'll have him back on again, to talk about it.
For sure.
Up in Buffalo. They're up in Buffalo now. He says he has no extra time up there. So he's going to get back to me when he's ready to go. So Combine. Yeah. So they invited, 90 of the top ranked draft eligible players.
90 get invited?
Yeah. So they interviewed them the teams interview them. They do medicals and fitness testing at the KeyBank Center. And
they measure you to see what size you really are. If you, cheated a few inches or if you, lost a few somewhere along the line.
Right. Gavin McKenna's up there. We talked about a lot of the kids that are being drafted in the last two shows that we had. But
speaking of McKenna in the draft, that's kind of getting a little bit interesting because, in the end, I don't think it's going to happen because I think the corporate ownership is up there. It's not going to let him not draft McKenna. But, I think if it was solely Chaika's decision, he drafted defenseman. But there's also, where he's sniffing around to see if he could use that pick to rebuild the team more quickly,
Mm-hmm.
So he could keep Austin Matthews in town. And you know what, John, I'll save you the trouble. No, you can't. Even if you trade, you're not going to be able to get much. You're not going to get enough from the first pick to make that team a Stanley Cup contender quickly, and which would make satisfy Matthews. And again, I'll go on record. It's and maybe I'll have egg on my face. Matthews he's not going to be there much longer. Whether it's this year or next year, I think he's out of there.
Right.
So the play would probably be to see what you could get for that first pick to try and rebuild a team faster, because that's the only way you're going to do it. McKenna's not going to do it for you. Or Stenberg's take a couple of years. But, it's not a bad move. I just don't think ownership's going to let him do that. But maybe they will, because they want to, ownership is not down for a rebuild,
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they get bold and take a chance. I don't think it would work. but it's definitely it's not they're not coming back quickly any other way. Maybe it's like they trade that choice and and maybe they got a couple of players and they really build the team and all of a sudden they're a contender again within 2 years, maybe. But it's not going to happen just by drafting McKenna, and it's not going to keep Austin Matthews it down. I thought it would. So remember I was saying,
Yeah.
Rangers lost their chance. Now, from what I'm hearing or reading, and if you think about it logically, if I was Matthews, that wouldn't change my mind either. But I'm different than Matthews. I'd already have said, I would already put my, I'm out of here. Trade me.
Right.
Because you can't deny the when any way you look at that objectively, they are looking at a couple of years at best as a middling team, right? Probably out of the playoffs, but they're not going to be able to become a Stanley Cup contender within a year or two. They just don't have the prospects. They don't have the draft picks. There's no path there. There's no free agents out there that can sign quickly. It's just not there, So they're kidding themselves. Ownership is, if they think they could, retool on the fly and be a Stanley Cup contender again, or maybe they don't care. They just want to make the playoffs because it's corporate and the money. But
right.
I don't think Matthews is going to be there much longer.
Yeah, no, doesn't sound like it. Well, if you got McDavid and Matthews on the move, how crazy is that?
It happens, right?
And Kachuk, right? Yeah, I mean, if Gretzky can be traded, anybody can be traded.
Different era, different collective bargaining agreement, but
right. No trade.
You could see McDavid, small town, wants that level. A lot of people don't want to go to Edmonton, so it's going to be hard to win up there.
Yeah.
But Austin Matthews is in the Mecca, man, Toronto, right? The most passionate fans, most popular team. Money would never be an object. The problem is the fan base and the media up there is just ridiculous. They're so bad because they haven't won it so long, and their frustration and their anger, and they just they make it miserable for star players, right? So I think the other thing was they were never really a Stanley Cup contender. They didn't have the depth, they didn't have the defense, and they didn't have the goalie. And I think we talked about this before when the Shanna plan was put in effect and he cited Tavares, there was the hockey community was split. The analytics guys and some other GMs said you can't devote that much of your cap to those four guys and have enough left over to build the team with the depth to win a Stanley Cup.
Right.
Shanahan disagreed. He said he had his plan. At the time, I was agnostic on it. Like, all right, well, sounds like they're right, those guys, common sense. But you know what? It's bold. Maybe Shanahan will be right. We'll see. Well, 6 years later, the decision is, the verdict is in, okay? There is no question that the guys who said you couldn't win that way were right, okay? Doesn't make, I'm not second guessing Shanahan. I'm just saying that he had a plan, right? He stood by it. It just wasn't the right plan. You got to do it to find out. But now, 6 years later, there's no debating his plan. The guys who criticized it were right? Because it was clear they couldn't. They had the same issue every year in the playoffs. No defense, no depth, goalie, whatever. And they constantly try to solve it, and it didn't happen. So,
right.
Look, I don't blame him for trying. It was a bold plan. I always like boldness from my GM or any GM. And you know what? If it worked, we'd all be saying what a genius he is, right? But.
So we have the combine up in Buffalo, and then in about 3 weeks we got the draft coming up, and that's going to be in Buffalo also. The first, what is that? June 26th is the first round. And then rounds 2 through 7, June 27th on Saturday. So we'll see if we'll probably get some trades, I'm sure. Some teams may trade up, and uh, when we hopefully the Rangers make some kind of moves around that time. It would be nice to see Drury make something happen over the summer
Well,
to help
on that
this
note,
team a little bit.
without any big free agents available, there's been a lot of speculation with hockey insiders that there's going to be and chatter amongst again the GMs and whatnot. They're reporting that you might be getting some old-fashioned hockey trades. What does that mean? Well, teams trading good players for other good players to try and get better, right? You don't
Right.
see that as much anymore. And in particular, it's been speculated, it's been reported that four of the teams in the top of the four of the top four
Top
teams,
four
or maybe
teams.
and even others in the top 10, are all willing to talk about trading their pick and trading down because, once you get past Stenberg and McKenna, yeah, you got Malhotra, you got, Treed, whatever. But there's not a lot of GMs or personnel guys feel that you could trade out of the top 10, go down to like 13 or 14, pick something up, and get a player that is comparable to the guy you would take 7 or 8. With that's their analysis of the player. So I think you're going to see some stuff.
Right.
I think you are. I've heard San Jose apparently is open for business.
Huh.
Now, apparently they got this point system like they have in the NFL. And I saw some speculation. This is stupid season with the blogs. They're signing everybody. They're trading for everybody. One blogger, a Ranger blogger, wrote, the Rangers should offer the 5th overall pick and Braden Schneider. No, sorry, yeah. So the 26th pick, that second draft choice they had, Braden Schneider, to swap picks with San Jose, move up to 2. Listen, you want to get Stenberg or McKenna if you can.
Right.
But the Rangers are not in a position to make a trade like that.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to give up one of their prime trade chips, apparently, Schneider. We're going to get at least something for some depth. A first-round pick, which would add, an asset. So if there is a guy who comes available, they have another young player. And to swap 4 spots, no.
Right.
That's way too much to pay. But apparently that point system says it's a fair trade, but it's way too much. Way too much. In my opinion,
Again.
I don't think it would be a good move for the Rangers. They're not in a position to make that kind of move.
Yeah.
For a player. I don't care how good they are, right? Or whatever. You want to get that player. He's dynamic. This or that. The Rangers. If they, if it was a player they were this close and the player was going to put them over the edge, yeah, maybe, but they're not. They need a lot of things, and it's way too much to give up to move up. If you're not going to get one Stenberg or McKenna or even Malhotra, you know what? Stay where you are. Take Carson Carrells or whatever defenseman you think is the guy there, and be happy with him. And then you find the dynamic center or forward somewhere else.
Speaking of Malhotra, how about Manny Malhotra getting hired by the Vancouver Canucks? Wouldn't that be crazy if he got to the point where, they're up there in the draft, correct? I mean, I think they're number?
They're 4,
4?
and most mocks have him going to Vancouver because
Caleb.
If you go by most draft rankings, it's clear that Stenberg, McKenna, and Malhotra are in your top 4. And then any one of the defensemen you can put in there. So most mocks have him going to Vancouver. And as I've read these mocks, or listen to the pundits or the writers, like they were talking about how, well, now that his father, they might hire his dad as a coach, so subsequently they did, it's going to make him even more likely to go to Vancouver. And I was thinking that I don't know if that's true.
All right.
I don't know if he wants to coach his son at the NHL level, or if he wants to play for his dad. I don't know. I could see it, but I don't know if that. I wouldn't be so certain that that's and assume that like they were. Now it was reported that Scott Wheeler, who's an insider, had said that he's supposedly not too keen on coaching his son. That he'd rather not.
Yeah, you're
You
probably
know,
better off going somewhere else, getting a different type of coaching from him. I mean, the kid grew up with his father, so and how would that be being under his son? Like with ice time and favoritism and who knows? I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be too much of an issue, but you're going to get those players that are going to think that and say, hey, why is he playing ahead of me? And who knows? You don't want to ruffle too many feathers with stuff like that going on.
well, here's what I know, about human nature, and I've seen it over and over with dad coaches in youth hockey.
Right.
Now, listen, they're adults, a little different, but it's really, some athletes can be immature too, hockey players. But when you coach your son, right, one of two things: either you favor him. Most dads favor their kid; they give him every advantage, all the ice time they don't deserve, blah blah blah. Others, like me, when I coach my son, they might go the other way, and they're harder on him,
Yeah,
because they don't
yeah.
want to be accused. And that's why I didn't coach my son after mine, because he got shortchanged, because of that, because I didn't want the perception. But here's the thing: no matter what you do, you're going to get accused of favoring your son, right? It becomes a crutch, it becomes an excuse, So it's going to be an issue no matter what, right? And if I'm manning the whole tree, it's my first job. The team's rebuilding. It's one less distraction or whatever. So if given my choice, I'd rather not do it. And I think most guys would feel that way, right? They'd rather not.
Right.
But if at the same time, my thing, if I'm manning my whole tree, I say to honest, look, I really don't want to coach him, right? It's, by the way, it's another year or two away. He's not going to come right to the NHL.
Right.
I really don't want to coach him. He's a distraction. I don't think it's good. However, if he's available and you guys think he's so much better than the next guy, that I don't want to stand in the way of drafting him, because look, who knows if I'm going to be here in 10 years, and if he's the player you think he is, he will be, right? So I'd rather, you guys do what you think is right, but just understand, if given in a perfect world, my druthers, I'd rather not be his coach.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. It might play out. Yeah. It might play out that way where, he doesn't have to coach him. Who knows how long Malhotra will last in Vancouver and when Caleb will come up. So, I mean, like you said, he probably has a couple years before he's put into an NHL lineup anyway. So,
Well, in all the mocks, right, in all the rankings, it's clear that, it's pretty much Chase Reed or Verhoff, along with McKenna, Malhotra, and Stenberg, going 1, 2, 3, and 4. But rarely does the draft end up going according to plan. Somebody
yeah.
always throws a monkey wrench into it, right?
Yeah.
Like we brought this up today. Bennett Seneke, Anaheim trading up to get, or taking him at 3, which nobody saw coming.
Right.
And there is, Vigo Bjork, who's from Sweden, who almost every draft analysis I've read say he's on the talent level of McKenna and Stenberg, and would be a top 3 pick if he wasn't 5'9", right? And more and more, as we get closer to the draft, I'm reading more and more that he's moving up into, I saw him as high as 3. I've seen him as high as 5 or 4. And so if he was 6'2", he'd be in discussion with McKenna and Stenberg for the second pick. But he's 5'9".
Right.
Now we'll find out how tall he really is in the combine. But there's also talk that you see some of these smaller guys, Ehlers, Stanovan, Lane Hudson, doing really well in the playoffs. It's starting to prove more and more that, Cole Caulfield, you don't have to be, you can succeed if you look. And height is overrated, right? It's strength, and he's supposed to be very strong, and he's strong on his skates, hockey IQ. So we'll see. Maybe somebody says, you know what, that kid is too good, and they take him, or they jump up and make a trade to. Could happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's some really good defensemen in this. Maybe, that's the monkey wrench gets it thrown. And somebody takes 2 or 3 defensemen, and now Malhotra all of a sudden is available for the Rangers or whatever. Or maybe Vancouver thinks on their rebuild, what they need to do is build around to get that franchise defenseman that they traded Creed Hughes. I don't know. It very rarely goes to plan. So we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping the Rangers make a good pick at number 5. That's for sure. We can use it.
The Rangers are going to get a good player, no doubt.
Yeah.
Whether or not he develops, we all, it's all a crapshoot, you know.
Yeah.
But they're going to get a good player, whether it's Karels, Verhoeven,
Mm-hmm.
Reed, Bjork. It's not Drury's MO to draft small guys, but he did draft Perot. That's why he dropped 2, by the way. They're going to get a good player, and they're going to get a good player at the end of the first round. They just, as I said before, it's more, middle six, second line, than a first line stud, at least now with the analysis. And we'll see, there's always surprises, right?
Mm-hmm.
J.C. Robinson, 47 goals in the second round. Wyatt Johnson, as we talked, late first round, 40-something goals. It's Corey Pronman, who does this for a living, one of the writers at The Athletic, I heard him on a podcast the other day, and they were talking about, I guess it was maybe Dallas, or talking about the teams that do it right. They know, they find these players late in the middle rounds, and they know what they're doing, and Pronman said, and this is my language, that's bullshit. I said, what do you mean? He said, it's all luck. It's all random. Listen, I study these players. I've done it for 15 years. Right? At the end of the day, it's all luck, right? Nobody has a secret sauce over anybody else or has some special way. It's luck. I think I get what he's saying. I don't think he's meaning it that black and white, but a lot of it is you just, Craig Button, who's a longtime GM and personnel guy with Calgary, who now does draft rankings. I heard him on a podcast a couple of years ago, and he said the pick itself is never the mistake. It's what you do with the guy that decides it, right? If it's more important, like after you draft him, how you develop him, what you do with him, then draft picks fail more because of that than they were the wrong pick.
Right. Yeah, Rangers had a lot of those issues with what was it, Lias Anderson, was it, and then Kravtsov. Yeah.
The problem with those 2 picks was the Rangers reached, right? Neither one of those guys were projected to go that high.
Right.
But again, in fairness, those were weak drafts.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, Kravtsov, I thought was supposed to be good. I mean, he showed a very little bit of light when he was playing, but I think he was more of a head case.
I don't know what happened. He was. I don't have it because Ranger fans and again, draft guys and stuff, or prospect analysis, got excited for him because he set the record for the most points for a rookie in the KHL. Yeah. And so it looked like, he's playing against men. Look what he's doing. He's going to be, what happened from there? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Kako thing is just a mystery because
right.
There's not anybody in the world who would have, maybe there's, a couple of outliers. It was almost 100%. Anybody else would have taken him. Nobody was going to take, that was the guy. It wasn't like, maybe this guy. No, he was the guy at number 2. Everybody would have taken him. Why it didn't work out? I don't know. Anderson was a reach. He shouldn't have went as high as he did. But that was Gordy Clark, who's no longer with us. It's now John Lilly, tasked with making that pick. And his track record over the last couple of years has shown, he's done a good job with those middle round picks. We'll see.
Yeah. I just want to say thanks for joining us there, Jeff. Jeff Tolan joining us. BJT
hey, Jeff,
contract. Carolina. He says Carolina all the way. There we go. Jeff is Carolina all the way. Look at this. We're picking Vegas, Jeff.
Yeah. If you're a Carolina fan, I wish you luck, buddy. I hope you win.
He's a Ranger fan.
Good things for people, but
he's a Ranger fan.
Oh, he is. Oh.
Yeah, he's a Ranger fan. So
yeah, he's suffering like the rest of us.
He's going with Carolina. Listen, I kind of have that soft side for Carolina too, because of this guy. Tell me if you know who this guy is to the left. Throw this up there.
Is that what's his name? Robinson?
Yes, it is Eric Robinson, and I think that's I don't know if that's Johnny or Matthew. It looks like Johnny maybe.
Yes, and I'm thinking Matthew.
How is it could be Matthew.
But who knows?
It kind of looks like him, but How ironic is that? He's wearing a Carolina jersey back when he played
Crazy.
with Hollydale, and now he's with the Carolina Hurricane. How cool is that?
That is cool.
So good luck to Eric Robinson with the
Sure.
Carolina Hurricane, man. Love to see
Nice
him.
to see another Jersey boy win a cup.
You know, if he wins, it's just fine with me, Carolina. So I'm
Good
not.
luck.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Carolina all the way. Jeff Dolan. Oh, Stella wants to get in on the show before we wrap up. Stella, go in the house.
Dad,
I wanted to
go
get.
ahead, girl. There's a chipmunk there. Go get it. Go get it, girl. Where's my dog? He's not reacting. He's asleep. Usually, when he hears your dog bark, he reacts.
I just want to bring up something real quick before we head out of here. We got about 5 more minutes left. Claude Lemieux, tragic, tragic loss last week on Thursday. I did not expect that,
No.
And then
Last guy you think would commit suicide. He always seems so confident,
Yeah, he was did the torch lighting of the torch, the Montreal game. I didn't get to see that, but I heard about it, and then to hear that he committed suicide. Geez, they found him. Was it true that they found him in his family's furniture store or something like that?
He hung himself. His son found him.
Terrible. 60 years old. And then I heard that there's brain is being donated to the Boston University CTE Center for research to see what was going on there.
So
that it's terrible with the CTE and the concussions and stuff. A lot of these players are going through, and with the suicides, depression and anxiety, whatever else they're dealing with, and just not being able to cope after hockey or even during hockey. Something that the NHL takes serious now with the protocols, that they do with the.
His era took a lot of punches. It was a nasty game back then, and you had a concussion. It was a headache. Get back out there, you pussy. Look, for anybody out there who's suffering with depression or anxiety, I have it. It hit me like a ton of bricks. It took me a long time to recognize it. But put that aside for a minute. If Claude Lemieux was a living legend, right, who won 4 Stanley, has a career anybody can be proud of, you grew up living the dream, right?
Yeah.
A guy who is so beloved, 25,000 people were standing on their feet cheering for him, right, when he walked out on the ice Monday night, and he could get the same reaction in Colorado or New Jersey. If that guy, with all his accomplishments, right, was depressed and killed himself, I think it should be, tell you that it's something out of your control, right, and something it's not to be ashamed of, right? Because if that, think about it, like, what would the first thing people say? What reason does that guy have to kill himself? He lived his dream,
Yeah.
It's not that simple.
Right.
Hearing the news, this one struck me a little more than others do because, watching him play all those years, he was the the atypical or the poster child for, I hate that fucking guy, but I wish he was on my team, would do anything to win. We all saw the shit he did over the years,
right?
But the guy, and I wrote about him on my forum, and get this, we all know. So he won 4 Stanley Cups, whatever, won a Conn Smythe. How about this? 9th in goal scoring all time, right? You see the names they had of Messier, Messier, Gordie Howe, Brett Hull, Gretzky, Maurice Richard, all legendary, not just Hall of Famers, best of the best ever. And then there's Claude Lemieux.
Right.
That should tell you what he scored 90 goals or 80. That should tell you what kind of player he was.
Yeah.
And supposedly a wonderful, easy guy to like off the ice, right? Like I've heard that over and over again. Jimmy, Dad will tell you that. Great teammate.
Right.
Sad. You feel for him. You feel for his family. Like, and all of us, like he was just at Montreal walking the torch out. What the hell? 2 days later, he kills himself. But that's depression.
Yeah.
Some of his, his one of his friends, who's a writer up in Montreal, speculated that he's been really upset apparently over the years that he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh wow.
And that might have
Hmm.
opened old wounds for him, and like being that emotions or whatever. I don't know him, but if that is the case, man, that makes it even more shitty because you don't look. Claude Lemieux is a Hall of Fame player. What he accomplished. He doesn't
Right.
need some assholes to vote him in to prove that. He probably would have eventually got in. But everybody knows he's a Hall of Fame player. Like if that would depress him or bother him, it's sad to think that because like he doesn't need anybody to validate him what he
Right.
accomplished. He doesn't need 12 guys to go in a room and take a vote and say he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Like shame on them for not putting
100%.
him in. And if I knew him, that's what I'd say to him, dude. What do you want? Why let it bother you? You're a Hall of Famer. Everybody knows that. So
Yeah.
if that's the case, that's it makes it even sadder. There was something I read about it didn't make sense because or his friend said he was estranged from his kids for 10 years, but he was dead. Like it sounded like it's based on them being around something that was in the past. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
CTE can be it, but it's depression. Depression is an insidious, complicated issue that
Right.
can happen to anyone.
Anyone at any time. I
Right.
agree. Been there, done that. So, um,
Yep.
yeah, it's crazy. Claude Lemieux at 60 years old. Geez, I got to meet his son, Brendan Lemieux, when I was up in Carolina. I went to go to the Rangers Carolina game, and him and Brendan Lemieux and Panarin were the only two that came off the bus and were came up and met the fans and talked to the fans while it was pouring rain out. And I'll never forget that day.
I
And,
believe Brendan was the one who found him, from what I understand.
yeah, that's
Well,
geez.
Claude Lemieux had a second career after he retired. He became a player agent, and he, had real players, a real clientele, and to hear them talk about him,
Mhm.
like that he wasn't just an agent. When they, I forget which, maybe it was Frederick Anderson or one of them. When he signed and came over to the country from Sweden, Lemieux took him in his house and, no, you're going to live with me and my wife. And, he said it talked about how it made the transition easier for him and how he was always there for his clients, treated them like family. And,
Right.
it's sad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but so Claude Lemieux, 60 years old. Geez. How about one real quick? I just want to mention that Zach Werenski won the Norris Trophy too. He was the first Norris Trophy winner for the Columbus Blue Jackets. What a month or what a year that he's had.
Yeah. Right.
Gold medal award winner. He has a kid about a month ago, and then he gets the Norris Trophy. So congratulations to Zach Werenski. What a talented defenseman for
Yeah. I don't know if you
Columbus.
heard what he said too when he won, which was, very endearing. And, like when guys act real, it just makes them more likable. He said, I can't believe I'm looking at this trophy, and the first name I see is Nicholas Lynch, who I grew up idolizing. And
Ah,
I see all these names of these legends, and now my name is with them, right? It's
yeah,
kind of like, like leaves
crazy.
me speechless. So good for him. Good
Yeah,
for him. He had a great year.
and they surprised him at his house. The NHL went there. That was pretty
Oh, they
cool.
did.
They did. Yeah, they went to his house, told him it was for new fathers or something in the NHL. They were
Hmm.
doing an interview, and then they brought him the Norris Trophy, which was pretty cool, with all of his family around and stuff. I saw that video on, and he was just being interviewed on the NHL Network before we came on the show. I was checking
Very
that
humble
out
guy.
for a
So
few
congrats
minutes.
to Zach Wentz.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's wrap it up. We'll head out of here. Hopefully next week we'll have our guest when he comes back from the NHL Combine. Looking forward to talking to him, and hopefully he gets drafted this year, second round. And then we have possibly in 2 weeks we'll have our other guest. We're going to keep these secret for right now, but he's an NHL alumni, played for Montreal and the Rangers.
Had a great career. A lot to
won a
talk about with him.
Yep, won a
Very
Stanley
great
Cup.
stories.
He's now a
Yep.
player agent. So maybe we can hook him up with our other guests. You know, you never know.
Maybe.
So
Gotta find his face.
that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well,
So make
I
sure
know.
you go check on that chipmunk. Make sure he's okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah. I know. Stella's she's brutal when she's out here. I just was hoping there was no skunks that were gonna show up while I was out here. But you know.
Thanks for
All right.
listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy trails.
Next
Happy
Wednesday,
trails to you. You don't
next
want me
week we are back. And we'll head out of here. We appreciate you guys checking us out. Jeff Tolan, I know you were out there in the chat. Appreciate you watching. And we'll get it rocking and rolling next week.
to. Got it.
again.
I'll give you a call tomorrow, Looch. Good
All
night,
right,
everybody.
sounds good. Have a good night, Jeff.
You too.